back to The Lead Word. This is one of your hosts, Chad Bauman. With me as always, Trey Daubert. We are breaking down Week 12 of the NFL. Trey, how's it going?
Not bad, Chad. Hanging in there. Just doing a bunch of content for the site, as always. VendettaSportsMedia.com, as we are always brought to you by. Again, I should remind everyone who's listening, all the shows go up on YouTube. So if you haven't subscribed there, do that.
Do it! Do it!
Probably the easiest way to get your shows. So that's about it.
Also, I almost forgot, guest appearance again today by my dog Chloe. She's here.
Give her a pet for me.
I think she was sleeping. I might have just woke her up. So Chloe's not that interested in football. All right, well, let's go ahead and get it started with the takeaways.
Chad,
I'll be going first.
Yep.
My first takeaway, Trey. You're probably not gonna believe where I'm going with this at first, but I'm done. I'm checking out at this point.
Wow.
The Eagles need to trade Carson Wentz.
What? Bro, what are you talking about, man?
Stop it, Chad.
Nope.
No, you didn't just say that.
The Eagles need to trade him.
Oh, my God.
Here's why. as a fan base, we don't deserve him.
Oh, I like that take.
we really don't. And I'm gonna tell you why. And obviously, Carson Wentz, he sucked these last two games. He's been fucking god awful. There's no getting around that. Probably the worst two games of Carson's career since he's been in the league. That being said, the way Eagles fans talk about Carson Wentz reminds me of how they used to talk about Donovan McNabb. And I just can't do it again. It doesn't make sense. So,
well,
we should
say that Carson Wentz is way more talented than McNabb was.
I agree. But if you look at the two games that he had, the two bad games this season, this guy, he played the best defense in the league in New England. I don't know the exact stats, but I'm sure they're a top 10 team in Seattle with probably the worst wide receiving core I've ever seen in my life. Like, I swear to God, I would cut off my left arm to have James Thrash and Todd Pinkston out there for him to throw to.
What about Freddie Mitchell?
Better than Aguilar.
James Thrash. What a throwback.
Yeah, at least Freddie Mitchell delivered on 4th and 26. Aguilar drops that ball.
I'll say this is by far the worst. I think it's the worst group of receivers I've ever seen on the same field.
You suck.
You got Arcega-Whiteside. That dude can't run routes to save his life. I was critical of them when they picked him. I didn't get it. I didn't like him at Stanford. He's awful. Greg Ward was a quarterback at the University of Houston. Who else is out there? Matt Collins. Wentz doesn't even bother throwing him the ball.
By the way, they passed on DK Metcalf to take Arcega-Whiteside.
They did.
Now, he had 5 drops on Sunday. But he also has 5 touchdowns on the season and almost 1,000 yards, I think, at this point.
Metcalf has been good as a rookie. Arcega-Whiteside has been unplayable.
He has 4 catches on the season, I think. And 2 of them were on Sunday.
All these guys, they're on the field all the time, and they have no production.
And again, this isn't excusing Wentz's play because again, he sucked these last 2 games. I can admit that. But when you look at all the factors, it's kind of hard to not give the guy a break, considering I 100% don't think he trusts these receivers.
No, who would?
You can watch his body language. Even when he has a guy wide open, he's still cocking the ball. And he's not pump faking it. He's literally deciding whether or not I should throw this guy the ball because I don't know if he's going to catch it.
That's the entire roster.
Except for Ertz and Goddard.
Yeah.
Those are the only two guys you can see that he has confidence when he throws the ball to.
So why do you think they should trade Wentz?
Because we don't deserve him. And I swear to God, I was gonna go to the game on Sunday, but I ended up not being able to get the tickets that I was supposed to get.
You should be happy you didn't go.
So I went to the bar and watched it, and I swear to God, this guy at the bar was like the dumbest person I've ever. My thing is like the things I've been hearing these past 2 weeks in regards to Wentz. I would love for us to have to play Josh McCown, Jake McCown, whichever fucking McCown that we have on our roster currently. I don't even remember.
Who the fuck is that guy?
I would love to have to put him in a game and just be like, oh, well, you hate Carson Wentz so much, here's your alternative. Like,
Philly
these guys,
sports radio people are the worst.
It wasn't, somebody actually said that they should put Josh McCown in. Bench Wentz and use McCown for the rest of the season.
That's like the 10 years ago when they used to say, AJ Feely, put him in the game, Kevin Cobb.
So, like,
Ty Detmer.
I mean, when you look at these past two games, right? Because I actually, you did a post on it. I saw Dan Orlovsky's tweets, and I actually went back myself, and I watched the game, the offensive side of the ball. Yeah, Wentz, the turnovers were bad. He had the 2 fumbles that were recovered and the 2 picks. Really, that Jordan Matthews pick, that was garbage time. I think he's just trying to force something in there. The Goddard pick was bad, but when I rewatched that and I looked, there were only 3 wide receivers running routes on that play. There was a wide receiver at the top of the screen. There was Goddard, who ran like a seam, and then Ertz ran a route. Ertz and the wide receiver were blanketed by coverage. Goddard was the only one that was slightly open, and Wentz tried to force it in there, and he was getting hit while he was throwing the ball. Should he probably have just taken the sack, not turned it over? Probably. But, I mean, I get why that pick wasn't as bad as I thought it was the first time I was watching it. As far as the fumbles are concerned, the first fumble, terrible. You can't have that. He was only like one hand in the ball when he got tackled at that point, so yeah, that was terrible. But at the same time, you look at his offensive line at that point. Brandon Brooks leaves the game because he has his anxiety issues. I understand that. Lane Johnson's not in the game because he's still in concussion protocol. Wentz dropped back and 2 seconds later, the defense was about to sack him.
Andre Dillard was horrible from what I saw.
They took him out of the game.
Yeah. He was horrible.
We had the second fumble. That was the one where they tried that counter. It was like a sprint draw kind of action. It was like a draw play, but then it was also a counter. That one, that's one of those times where the quarterback throws an interception, but it's because it bounced off the wide receiver's hands, like a tip drill kind of thing. If you watch, when Wentz goes to hand the ball off, he puts it in Miles Sanders' numbers, but Shaquem Griffin just blew up the play. He ran right by Andre Dillard and tackled Miles Sanders as Wentz was handing him the ball.
Imagine what would have happened if Jadeveon Clowney was playing. He didn't even play.
It would have been bad. I mean, I'm just saying, when you look at Wentz's stats, even with these 2 games, which were his worst 2 games of his season, Wentz's stats are still pretty good. Like, if this was any other team in the league, we'd be like, oh, this guy's stats are pretty good right now. Playing with the worst wide receivers in football. They're ranked like 31st. Honestly, I don't know whose receiving core is worse. Who could possibly have a worse receiving core? I can't think of a team whose receivers I wouldn't trade this group for.
You bring up a good point. 17 touchdowns, 6 picks, and he's number 8 in QBR right now. You probably take it. With what he's got to work with, you would take that.
Even with the worst receivers in football, Wentz is at least, even if you want to put other guys ahead of him, he's at least, right now, based on stats, he's a top 10 quarterback in the league.
You can't disagree with that.
And we got guys who are, everything that he does, they're like complaining. This one guy, I told you, was so bad at the bar, all he wanted to do, apparently he's an Eagles fan, all he wanted to do was trash Wentz. There was one play where Wentz was getting sacked as he was throwing the ball and it was incomplete. This guy's like, I don't know what he's doing. How doesn't he complete that pass? The guy's wide open. I was like, you saw him getting hit, right? He's like, oh, well, no, I didn't see him get sacked.
I don't think it'll ever change. There are just simple-minded people out there that if your team loses, it's the quarterback's fault, and if your team wins, it's the quarterback that did everything. But there's just too many simple-minded people that can't get beyond that.
Another guy who was apparently friends with the first guy when I was at the bar, he goes, he holds the ball too long. And I'm like, well, that's not really true. I don't know if this has changed, but going into that New England game, Wentz was like 8th in the league in release timing. 8th in the league. Obviously, he's not holding the ball that long.
If it's these people, if your team loses, it's the quarterback's fault. If your team wins, your quarterback's the best. That's just and there's a lot of people that can't process that. My favorite thing is I asked the guy, I was like, even if he was holding the ball too long, which wide receiver is getting open immediately for him to throw the ball to? And then the guy was like, oh, well, that's a good point, but he should throw it away. He should throw it out of bounds. I was like, you realize you can't just throw the ball out of bounds from the pocket, right? He's like, that's not true. Like, guy, you're just retarded at this point. Like, you don't know what you're talking about.
Are you stupid or something?
Last year, we had how many people say Mitch Trubisky's a good quarterback because he won 12 games?
Well, I think people are starting to realize Mitch Trubisky ain't it at this point. But I'm just saying, let's trade Wentz. Put Josh McCown in there. See how far that gets us. I'd love to hear these people's excuses at that point. And for the people that are always like, oh, we need Nick Foles. Yeah, Nick Foles sucked on Sunday too, by the way.
He's been bad all year.
When he's played. Oh, and I honestly, at this point, I have to think that Doug Peterson hates Wentz. He doesn't do him any favors. Like you're missing half your offensive line, and you're not trying to move your quarterback, get him out of the pocket, get him some open throwing lanes. Come on, man. That's coaching. You're not helping Wentz at that point.
We have anything else on the Eagles, Chad? Did you get it out of your system?
Got it out. Trade Wentz. Get the picks from fucking whoever while you can. And then let's suck for 10 years while we look for another quarterback.
All right. So I'm going to get started on my first takeaway. And I want to direct the attention to Jameis Winston, who is the most exciting quarterback in football, Chad. He's got 22 touchdowns and 20 picks. He flings the ball all over the field. He ranks number 1 in yards per attempt. He's the most exciting quarterback in football, Chad. He's a total roller coaster. Against the Falcons, he goes out there, he immediately throws a pick, then he throws a 70-yard touchdown, then he throws another pick, then he drives right down the field and scores again. He's the most exciting quarterback in football, Chad. And I just want to point out, like all these people, well, he throws too many picks. Listen, I'm not defending his picks. All I know is this guy puts up points every week. He put up 35 in Atlanta, which Atlanta's, yes, I get Atlanta's not good. This guy puts up points every week.
And I'm going to get mine.
He put up 30 against the Cardinals. He put up 34 against the Seahawks. He put up 23 against the Titans. He put up 26 against the Panthers, 24 against the Saints, 55 against the Rams. Put up 31 against the Giants. All this guy does is put up points every week. It's amazing to watch. He doesn't dink the ball down his field. He says, fuck it, I'm throwing it 25 yards down the field. If it gets picked off, it gets picked off. But I'm going to make a handful of good plays out there, and we're going to put up points, and we're going to see what happens. It's a whole total fireworks show. I love watching Jameis Winston every week, Chad. Absolutely love it.
I think the thing with him, and it's always special because that's kind of been like since his rookie season in the league with Jameis, it's been we have to work on ball security with him. It's always that's his thing since he came in the league. Every single head coach he's had, it's like, oh, we're working on with him of when to make the smart play, when to check it down, when to not try to force anything. And it just never goes away. With him, we used to have a guy on my wrestling team in high school. This kid was either pinned the kid that he was wrestling in the first period, or he got pinned. Literally.
That's Jameis.
Every match. We had one coach, he was like, when Marcus wrestles, it's like rolling dice. He's like, he shakes it before the match, he throws it. Am I going to win or am I going to lose today? Oh, looks like a 7. I'm getting pinned. It was the most bizarre thing I've ever seen in my life until Jameis Winston. You never know what's going to happen. And the fact that he can run with the ball too just adds to the excitement.
He fumbles it a lot too.
Yeah. It's either 20-yard run, sack, fumble, pick, or touchdown. There's no in between. It's either turnover or touchdown with this guy.
I love watching him. I don't know about you. Maybe I'd feel differently if I was a Bucs fan. I love watching it.
Oh, this is just too good.
It's a total fireworks show. Constantly. There's always something happening. There's like Andy Dalton, I hated watching it. It was dump off. Winston, there's always something going on.
Andy Dalton's kind of like dump off, AJ Green.
Yeah. Let me ask you this, because there's a lot of people, they're very anti-Winston. Not a ton of Winston supporters out there. Where would you put him? Because right now, what he gives you, some of it's really bad, some of it's really good. I think there's a lot of quarterbacks that would take him, or teams that would take him.
It is tough with him being in the
it's
2020.
hard, right? Yeah.
With him being in the 2020 club, it is so hard to be like. It's so hard to be like, oh, he's like. I mean, if you're just looking on pure talent, I mean, I'd say he's top 15 easily. But when you're looking at decision making, do you add that in there? I don't know. I don't think I could take him over guys that are not going to turn the ball over.
Like let's say Chicago. They have Winston. What's their record?
That's tough too.
We're sitting here today, and I think everyone thinks they know what Jameis Winston is. I don't think anyone knows just how good he is, because he's all over the place. Whoa, up, down, up, down, up, down. Game to game, drive to drive.
I mean, if I'm Chicago, the reason why that's so hard is because you have Mitch Trubisky on one end, who he doesn't really throw that many picks, but that's only because he one-hops it to every receiver.
He's thrown a good number of picks this year. He threw 2 against the Giants.
Yeah, well, I'm not saying he doesn't throw picks at all. I'm just saying, his pick numbers aren't that high for someone who's not as good as he is. You know what I'm saying?
But he's not throwing for anything. He's
right.
He's
but that's what I'm saying. He either misses crazy. It's not like he doesn't throw picks, but the reason why he doesn't throw picks is because he's so bad. Does that make sense?
He's not throwing it down the field.
Right. It's either dump off or he one-hops it to the receiver. With Jameis, it's not like you can say, oh, they'd be winning with Jameis because, yeah, Jameis might be scoring some touchdowns, but at the same time, he'd also be setting them up to have field position at the 20-yard line.
But you got a defense that can, carry him. I don't know. I think a lot of people are way too anti Jameis Winston. I think we should have fun with what he is. I think we should enjoy the long touchdowns. I think we should laugh at when he throws picks. I think it's funny. I love watching him.
It's a hard decision to make.
I think Denver. I think Denver could use him. They have a decent defense. I don't know. I think you can do worse than Jameis Winston.
I mean, he does keep it exciting. At the very least, he'll sell tickets.
Let's look at Tampa. I think their defense is horrible. He's kept them in a lot of games. They're not ever getting blown out. Like, they took Seattle to overtime. They lost by 4 to Tennessee. They beat Carolina once, lost to them the second. He keeps these teams in the game. They're always close games.
Ain't gonna be no rematch. Don't want one.
Maybe if the defense was better, he'd throw less picks. Trade Wentz for him. See how that goes for Philly.
I'd like to see it.
All right, so my second takeaway, I got to call back to weeks 1 and 2 of the season. I did a takeaway after the first week. Lamar Jackson had a really amazing game against Miami. I said, calm down, it's just Miami. Comes back, has a not-so-great game against Houston.
Arizona.
No, they played the Chiefs week 2.
No, they played the Cardinals week 2. They played the Chiefs.
Well, then
after
I'm thinking
Cardinals.
of week 3. Whenever they played the Chiefs.
Yeah, week 3.
Okay, I'm thinking of week 3. And he had a not-so-great game, and I said, see, Jameis Winston against a team that can score, they got to pull out all the stops, smoke and mirrors, going for it on every 4th down. He didn't really have that great of a passing game. But coming back and revisiting it after week 12, Lamar Jackson, I still don't think he's a great passer. But I don't think that's ever what Lamar Jackson was supposed to be in this league. I got to give him credit. Lamar Jackson, he's a dynamic player. Again, I don't think he's a great passer. I don't think he's ever going to be. I think what we get from Lamar Jackson is Michael Vick. I think he's a little bit stringier than Michael Vick. Mike Vick was like 6 foot, 215. Lamar Jackson's like 6'3", 215. So he's a little bit stringier than Mike Vick. He's not as thick as he was. But I think that's a pretty good comparison for what he is and what he's going to be in the league. Nothing wrong with having Mike Vick on your team if he stays healthy and or doesn't go to prison. I think you seriously have to consider Lamar for the MVP because, I mean, when you look at it, what the Ravens did with Lamar, they basically said, what is our guy's strengths? He's good at running the ball, and he's got a cannon arm. Yeah, accuracy might be a problem, but let's go get a bunch of Ferraris. Hollywood Brown, Willie Snead's pretty fast. What's the other wide receiver they have?
No, they have Miles Boykin. He's okay.
But anyway, they got a bunch of Ferraris out there, bunch of 4-3, 4-4 guys, and they said, look, Lamar, just throw it as far as you can. These guys are going to run under it. Or they're like, these guys, they're going to be running straight crossing patterns across the field. The defensive backs aren't going to be able to keep up with them. Just get the ball in their hands. And that's exactly what their offense is. If you look at their statistics for plays that go 20-plus yards, they're tied for like 23rd in the league with the Eagles. The ball's not going 20 yards downfield unless it's run 20 yards downfield. And you know what? That works for them. They found out what their guys' strengths are. It's leading them to put up some crazy numbers week in and week out. He's an MVP candidate. He's not the greatest passer in the world, but guess what? It works. They put up the points they need, and their defense is playing great behind it.
Hail to the king, baby.
I'll say this, Chad. I've been very critical. Maybe it's because I'm an emotional Ravens fan. I did not believe in this plan that they had. But I think this is more of a John Harbaugh story. Does Lamar Jackson do this without them saying, we're going all in, we're going to make him into Mike Vick, we're going to let him run the ball, we're going to bring in Mark Ingram, we're going to beef up this offensive line. Their offensive line's great. They invested in Orlando Brown's played well. Remember we made fun of him? He's played well. They got a good left tackle. Their guards are good. All they did is say, we're all in on Lamar Jackson. We have 3 tight ends that can run, block, and catch, and nobody really knows where the ball's going, and they're really creative, and Greg Roman dials it up. It's zone read. They're running option plays. They're really difficult to prepare for. I think it's a coaching thing. How many teams could do this? How many teams could say, we're all in, this is our new offense, it's going to be like nothing else in the league, we're going to be hard to prepare for, we're going to run it down your throat, we're going to control the clock, we're going to keep our defense off the field. I don't know. He's made me a believer. He's made me a believer because his plan has worked.
It's a bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see if it pays off for him.
Well, that's my point. Even if it is coaching, they're doing everything in their power to make it so Lamar can succeed.
Yes.
There's playing
a lot
to
of
his strengths. I mentioned this a little bit when I talked about Wentz. I think Doug Peterson hates Carson Wentz. The Eagles have not tailored their offense to Carson Wentz's strengths.
That's what I think is the biggest story.
I think when you look at Wentz, he's a guy who's best under center. He's playing most of his snaps out of shotgun. Wentz is another big arm down the field guy. You don't have any wide receivers that can get open downfield. So what if the Ravens and its coaching, they put Lamar Jackson in the best position they gave him everything he needs to succeed, and they said, Lamar, you have no excuses. This offense is tailor-made for you. All you have to do is not fuck up.
That's what I think it is. I think they have been almost Lamar, perfect with this plan.
Even if that's the case, Lamar has excelled.
Yes, he has.
They put Lamar Jackson in a position to succeed, and Lamar Jackson said, good look, coach. I got your back. And
he's difficult
like I said,
to prepare for.
You got to look at the numbers. I think there's certain things. Lamar Jackson, again, he's putting up dynamite numbers right now. So, I mean, he's certainly in the MVP candidate. I think he's surpassed Russell Wilson at this point. But I think you could make the argument that Mahomes is still in it because he actually doesn't have... I think I looked at a stat. He only has like 250 more yards than Pat Mahomes does at this point. And Mahomes missed like 2.5, 3 games.
Yeah.
So I think Mahomes is still in the conversation. But if Lamar Jackson keeps playing the way he did against I can't even remember who they played on Sunday.
The Rams?
Yeah. Or Monday night, I mean. If he keeps playing the way he did against the Rams, he's going to easily walk away with MVP.
He's playing his ass off, and I'll say he's more athletic than I thought he was. He's improved as a passer. Chad, last year he couldn't throw a spiral. Like, he was, like, it was unwatchable watching him throw a ball. I think, again, part of it is coaching, and part of it is, I think the guy's got a good head on his shoulders. I think he worked his ass off this offseason. It looks like he gained like 15, 20 pounds. He clearly worked on his game because he could not throw spirals last year. Now, he's still not totally accurate, but the ball comes out nice. The ball comes out better than it did last year.
I mean, I'll say that, like I said, this offense, if you look at it, the wide receivers, they're either running drags across the field, go routes, or comebacks. They run three routes. They run 3 routes. There's no other routes in their playbook. Every once in a while, a guy will run a post. That's it.
And they're running zone reads and options, and you don't know if Ingram's getting the handoff or if Jackson will take off with it or he'll play action off of it. It's difficult.
And that's another thing. They said, okay, we got the fast wide receivers. We got the running quarterback. We need a battering ram in Mark Ingram to punish the defenders inside.
They bully people up front. They really do.
They put Lamar Jackson in, they said, in the perfect offense for him, and he's answered the bell. Every game this year, he's answered the bell. Again, I don't think he's the greatest passer still, but who cares? They're still winning.
If you ain't first, you're last.
They've made me a believer. I'm not totally buying in because I don't want my heart broken, Chad, but they've proved me wrong. You know what? I'm more than happy to be proven wrong here. I didn't see this plan. I thought it made no sense, but they're doing something different, and so far it's working.
That's all I have for Lamar.
So my second takeaway is also about the Ravens. I want to piggyback off of yours because you talked about the offense. I want to talk about the defense, Chad, because really in the early part of the year, the Ravens were, good, but they weren't really beating up on teams. They weren't really punishing teams. They lost to the Browns. They took the Steelers into overtime, and they really should have lost that game. They were 4-2, and just kind of okay. They were playing some bad teams, keeping it close. But since the Marcus Peters trade, the old Ravens are back. Because Ray Lewis isn't walking through that door, and Peter Bowler's not walking through that door, and Ed Reed's not walking through that door. This defense wasn't that good in the beginning of the year. Marcus Peters has made the defense elite. They're back to being the old Ravens. Back to being the Ravens that I used to know and love. Since they've traded for Marcus Peters, this defense is through the roof. First 6 games of the year without Marcus Peters, they gave up an average of 350 yards and 23 points per game. That was against the Dolphins, Cardinals, Chiefs, Browns, Steelers, and Bengals.
You suck.
Easy schedule. 4-2.
Outside of the Chiefs. Easy schedule.
Easy schedule. In the 5 games with Marcus Peters, they're giving up an average of 290 yards and 12.5 points a game. That's against Seattle, New England, Cincinnati, Houston, and the LA Rams. A very hard schedule. So not only is their defense leaps and bounds better, but it's been leaps and bounds better against the great teams in the NFL. Peters has given them a number 1 corner. He's creating turnovers. He has 3 picks in 5 games. Marlon Humphrey has now been the number 2 corner. He's playing out of his mind. Jimmy Smith's their secondary is off the charts good. Earl Thomas has been good. It's turned around their whole defense. And now the Ravens are back to old school Raven football, being good on defense.
I think there's definitely some stock in that. I mean, as good as Lamar Jackson and their offense has been, I think what's been lost in the Ravens season so far has, like you said, has been how well their defense has been playing. Because I don't know if you remember that Seattle game. It was actually pretty close until Lamar Jackson, until Marcus Peters picked off Russell Wilson and took it to the crib.
Yeah.
That's when they blew the doors open in that game, is after that pick. And I mentioned this a couple weeks ago when after the trade deadline, the Eagles didn't get a corner. Having a number 1 lockdown corner like that frees up your defense to do so much more. You don't have to put as much help to that side of the field. So you can do other things. You can blitz an extra guy. You can send coverage to maybe a side of the field that needs more help. Because you don't have to worry about that other guy getting beat over the top or jumping on a route when he shouldn't. So I mean, having Marcus Peters, it's not only is it there statistically, but it's one of those things where it passes the eye test. Like you could see the Rams, they had no answer on Monday night. Until garbage time, the Rams couldn't move the ball.
Yeah. And it makes it so much easier on your offense when you're getting more possessions, better field position. He took DeAndre Hopkins totally out of the game when they played Houston. Houston couldn't score because that's Houston's only real guy, and he took Hopkins out of the game. He's turned everything around. I still think they made a lot of mistakes this offseason. I think letting Terrell Suggs walk was bad. Matt Judon's the only guy that can really get after the passer. I still think their linebackers are bad, but I don't know. Nobody can really throw on them, and their defense looks a hell of a lot better.
You like that? You like that?
And the crazy thing is they got this basically cornerstone piece to their defense, and they didn't give up anything for it.
A bust linebacker and Kenny Young, who wasn't playing anyway.
That's it. I would kill for the Eagles. Well, actually, I can't really say that because the Eagles' cornerbacks haven't been playing terribly these past couple weeks.
I don't know. I think a lot of this story has been because they, in the beginning of the year, they were getting Cleveland put up 40-something on them. They were getting chewed up.
They almost got dropped by Mason Rudolph.
Mason Rudolph almost had them beat. Duck Hodges came in it again, and they almost had them beat. I don't know. I think this big story has been their defense has been elite the last 5 games against one of the toughest portions of their schedule. I think it's made them Super Bowl contenders. I think with just Lamar Jackson and the running game, I don't know. If you have an average defense behind it, how good is it? You got a great defense behind it, and you're getting these guys off the field. Now we're really talking.
Yeah, I mean, it's working for them.
Think about all the guys that left their team this offseason. C.J. Mosley. They really don't even have a linebacker. You shouldn't be able to recover from that. Terrell Suggs was their best pass rusher last year. They not only let him walk, they let Zadarius Smith walk, who's probably been the Packers' best pass rusher. He's got, what, 10 sacks this year? He's been a monster. They don't even have a pass rush.
Well, you got me. By all accounts, it doesn't make sense.
Well, again, that's what bringing in Marcus Peters does for you. Now, instead of having to roll a safety over to that side of the field to help out in coverage, that safety can play in the box, help stop the run. You can bring that safety on a blitz and help the pass rush.
It's made a world of difference. That's all I got on it. It's made a world of difference.
Apparently, him and Jalen Ramsey, was it him that Jalen Ramsey was screaming at Monday night?
Yeah. Yep.
That sucks. Jalen Ramsey goes from the Jaguars playing with Blake Bortles to basically playing with 2 Blake Bortles in L.A.
He just wanted to follow him around.
Anything else, Trey, on the Ravens?
No, that's it.
So real quick, I mentioned this a few weeks ago. I just want to come back to it. The Redskins, I think they're making a big mistake by winning these football games. I don't know what the reasoning for winning is with this team right now.
Don't they have the second pick right now?
They have the second pick. But if I was them, I'd want the first pick.
You're not passing Cincinnati at this point, though, Chad.
No,
it's
at
over.
this point you're not. If you lose to Detroit, you're only one game behind the Bengals.
Cincinnati's not winning.
Well, they're bringing back Andy Dalton.
They are. But I don't think they would have brought him back if Washington didn't win.
I don't know. I would have lost the game. At least give yourself a chance at the first overall pick. You basically took yourself out of the running. Because now you're 2 games behind Cincinnati.
Let me say this, though. I don't think it hurts them because the Bengals are going to take a quarterback, right? They have to take a quarterback with the first pick.
Well, I know the Bengals are taking a quarterback. My point is we know the Redskins aren't taking a quarterback.
Well, they're going to get the next best thing that's not a quarterback.
Well, no. My point is Miami wants a quarterback.
Yeah.
You think if you get the first overall pick, Bengals get the second, Miami gets 3, draft time comes around, hey, Miami, you want to get your guy? You don't know what Cincinnati's doing. Send me an offer. Get some more assets, and you can still take Chase Young.
I don't know. I think it's easier said than done. I don't think you can out-bad the Bengals at this point. I think last week it was over.
At this point, they had an opportunity. They let it slip right through their fingers by winning that game on Sunday.
Well, what do you think about the Jets? They're on fire.
Well, we talked about this after Darnold said that he felt like they could run the table, or whatever he said.
Yeah, we're going to make the playoffs.
Yeah, he said that he thought they could win out, and I mean they haven't lost since he said it. I mean they're not playing great teams either, but I mean that's all it takes to get into the playoffs in the AFC.
Yep, which is where I wanted to go next. The New York Jets are on fire, Chad. They're on fire. They can't lose. It's the easiest portion of their schedule. They're playing dog shit teams. I want to say this. I think they could run the table.
We're going streaking!
I know it seems nuts, but they get Cincinnati next. Then they have Miami, which I know they lost to Miami the first time, but they should beat them this time. Their only real hard game is Baltimore. After that, it's Duck Hodges and Pittsburgh and the Bills, who they should have beat week 1.
I mean,
I think they have a shot, Chad.
As far as Baltimore is concerned, by that time, they might have clinched playoffs and home field. They might not.
They might.
Not to mention, when they lost to Miami the first time, that was during Darnold's mono, wasn't it?
Yeah, he was still up bad, but right now he's on fire. You can't deny what he's doing right now.
Trade Carson Wentz for Sam Darnold. I would love for Sam Darnold to get fucking mono or syphilis or whatever and be held out for a game and see what happens to him in the city of Philadelphia.
That's nasty.
All I know is I know the Raiders aren't a fantastic defense, but they've been respectable. They've been winning games. That was an ass whooping. 34-3? Ass whooping.
Yeah, they're looking they're looking kind of like what we thought they would look like at the beginning of the season.
Yeah.
Before the mysterious case of maybe mono for Darnold.
I don't know. It's a crazy turnaround. I just wanted to end with that. I think they could really make the playoffs. I think it's possible. The AFC is so bad. The AFC is so bad. Why can't they pass Pittsburgh? They're going to play them.
They have 6 losses right now, right?
They have 7. They're 4-7.
I mean, hey, not for nothing. Even if they do lose to Baltimore, 8-8 might get them in the playoffs.
8-8 might get you in. Pittsburgh 6-5. They're in right now.
Hey, who knows?
I just wanted to end with that. I don't know. I think the Jets could run it.
Outside of the heartbreaker at the Link on Sunday, not that great of a week.
Dallas lost.
That was good. Dallas lost, but again, you have the heartbreaker at the Link. You have
the 49ers are for real.
Sixers lost to Toronto like Monday night. That sucked. Back to back. That loss.
Joel Embiid didn't score a point.
Yeah. 0 for 10 or whatever. It was
the 49ers are for real.
Yeah, 49ers. And it's crazy. Jimmy Garoppolo is still getting like shit on.
He's
like
really
at this
good.
point, what more can Jimmy Garoppolo do?
He's 18-3 as a starter.
And like people are still saying he's like the weakest part of their team right now. It's crazy.
I don't get it. Anyway, that's it for me.
Yeah. So thanks for giving us a listen. Don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel because you can find all the podcasts there. If you don't have YouTube or you're weird, go ahead and give us a follow on Twitter, Vendetta_media. Like us on Facebook as well. All that social media stuff. Go ahead and follow Trey on Twitter at Trey Daubert, TreyDaubert. Check me out on Twitter at Lilfooted, Lilfooted. I definitely didn't spell your last name right.
Daubert.
Is that what I said?
I think. I don't know. I was zoning out.
I honestly can't even remember what I said either. Anyway, thanks for giving us a listen. We'll see you next week.